Welcome to Coastal Talk. Today we're sitting down with Andrea Mantoli, an emerging voice from Bangalore who's already capturing the spirit of architecture in a fresh way. A recent student of the Nifty Institute of Architecture and now on her internship journey, Andrea curates reels and posts that draw attention to the emotional and psychological aspect of architecture and the quiet stories hidden behind our built spaces. Through her creative lens, she's been turning everyday details into conversations about design and culture. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction on myself.
And so, to begin with, architecture school can sometimes blur the lines between life and work. How do you stay creative and grounded while juggling design, deadlines, and your own curiosity driven projects?
I think with architecture school or architecture in general, there's no clear boundary as such, and it's really hard to balance out anything because your brain's always half in it. At least that's how it is for me. But I think I've always been this curious kid, and pursuing architecture, getting into architecture school has only enhanced that curiosity because that's one of the first things we've been taught to question that very curiosity. And also, I don't think all my questions get answered in an academic setting. For anyone, I think that's true. So really, like, it started from the place that I wanted to know beyond what we learn and what we're taught in school, architecture school. So I started reading up a lot about different subjects and how they really interconnect and come together with architecture, the built environment. So once I learned that, I started, talking to my friends about it with my own peers in college, and beyond that, I was like, I love info dumping, so I thought might as well do it on the internet. Worked out really well, and also realizing that, I think many times I would think like I cannot go beyond my submissions and my assignments. But once I started doing that, I really started enjoying architecture, and I realized it's never boring. You can never run out of topics to talk about it. And I'm just genuinely very interested, very passionate about learning, and I don't know, hopefully stir some beautiful conversations with people.
That's a very beautiful answer.
Thank you.
And you also grew up in coastal Mangalore.
Yeah.
So, what everyday experiences or environments do you think shape the way that you look at space, material, and architecture?
I think growing up in Mangalore, firstly, I think I took it for granted. I do not, my own city, I grew up here and I've been here my entire life. And they say like you should really learn to be able to understand your own home city. You should learn how to be a tourist in it. And I learned how to do that when I first joined architecture school. It's taught me everything. I might be seen raving about pursuing this discipline, but I think it changed a lot in how I see my own city. And I realized that when we were asked to capture the essence of Mangalore, and I remember roaming around for 2 hours with my dad on our bike, because it made more sense to not go in your car, and we're just really experiencing everything as is. And I captured the Mangalorean Catholic houses, and I understood architecture beyond that, and how people, it's not just structures, or like we are doing arches, or like we're doing verandas, or we're doing porticos or whatever, but it's beyond that. It's how do people interact with spaces. And obviously my dad really helped me see that side of Mangalore. So yeah, it's been an enriching journey. What it was when I was before 18 and then I joined school, and how it's been so different after I joined school. So yeah, it's also taught me how I can value this informality. You see it a lot in Mangalore. I think it comes very naturally to Indians. We're very outside people. We're very community driven. We want to be with people.
Okay.
And now that's changing with like metro cities. It's changing a lot. But I think inherently we are people. Like we want to be with the community. And the spaces in Bangalore are so lived in, and they're just, you have these verandas. They're obviously like some sort of climate device where it's a buffer space and all of that. We study that a lot. Technically, I get it. But what do you go beyond that? What's so human about it? And yeah, it's just that those casual conversations you have. Like I have this sit out in my at my home, and we just casually have conversations with our neighbors where they come out to their sit outs, and it's just a fun thing to do. And I don't think you get that in cities. You can't do that.
Yeah,
So
correct.
yeah, I think that's the I've started really appreciating my own home city. Yeah.
That was very well said. And a lot of your work and content revolve around how people feel things in spaces.
Right.
So, what first made you curious about the psychological and emotional side of architecture?
That's, I mean, that's a good question. So, I think I decided I wanted to pursue architecture when I was in 8th grade. So roughly around 13 to 14 years of age. And I did drift away a little in the between, where I wanted to pursue cinematography. I wanted to take up mass media, various other subjects. But my dad didn't really let me drift. He was like, you choose, like the first thing you choose to do, I think will really work out for you. And I'm so glad he didn't let me because I think now I'm doing everything. I'm basically learning any subject, and I can pick it up really well because architecture is so interdisciplinary. And when I realized that, I also noticed how people were in spaces, but I didn't know what was spaces back then. I think this was around when I was 16, and I started noticing how people behave in spaces. And I'm like, I didn't know the right words back then, but I was always very curious. And then I went to, I joined Aloysius, and there I had an English teacher who introduced us to, he was never teaching us English, but he introduced us to a new subject called psychology. And I was a science student, so it was a very new subject to me. So I was like, damn, this is really fun. Like, and then it all made sense. And then I joined architecture school, and I think somewhere around the second year of architecture, I'm like, people were talking a lot about interdisciplinary thinking and all of that. And I'm like, wow, I think this is my time to shine. Like, I can really think about how can psychology be clubbed with architecture. And that's where I really started learning. And I'm like, I want to learn this. I want to learn how people are in spaces. And a lot of my, like the touch with the faculty that taught me in the beginning, when I was like I was in the baby stages, really sort of condition is to think in a direction where you're not designing just walls. You're thinking for people. And I learned about behavioral science. I learned about environmental psychology, a lot of different subjects. And it was mesmerizing. And I also met a lot of people in the way who resonate with me. And it's been great. I mean, I've been working on a lot of different projects. Hopefully they come to life sooner or later. But yeah.
Yeah, we wish you the best with that.
Thank you.
And you also often draw attention to ordinary spaces,
Right.
markets, streets, verandas,
Yeah.
stuff that people overlook. And so, what draws you to these kinds of spaces, and what do you think they reveal about Indian life?
Okay. I think spaces are where, I think these kind of spaces that you just mentioned are it's where Indian architecture really lives. And it's not in our temples, in our mosques, in our churches, in our monuments. That's heritage. That is our heritage. That's our history. But that's not where daily life happens. And we don't talk a lot about it. Throughout history too, do you really remember talking about the daily life, about people like us, not the royalty? Do you, we don't talk about the commoners. Yeah. So, I wanted to learn that, and I wanted to learn how they design, but it's not so formal, because architecture as a design, when we start, it's very formal. We have a process. It's not very linear, but there is a process. There's a system to it. But how Indians really, maneuver through these spaces, how do they understand it? For example, stall arrangement in a market, and how they sort of have a shaded corner, how they put up the tarp. I remember being in a market in Mysore, the Devraj market, for the first time, I think 2.5 years ago. And they had, there was a flower street lane, and they had put up these yellow color tarps. And the light that was filtering through it lit up the space really well. There were blue tarps as well, but it was not on the flower street. Okay. So they were really playing around with colors. And I remember there were red roses, and someone was lighting it up with red light, so it looks even more saturated. So I think that was just fascinating, how we really find a way to bring people in. And I was really sold by it. I bought a lot of flowers that day. So it's just about learning how people work around with what they can. We call it jugaad, but I think that's the most beautiful design. It's the most beautiful form of design. So, also, like when I mentioned previously about verandas, I think they're like social thresholds. We say this thing where like you're neither on the inside, nor the outside. It's a thing we use as architects, and it's like we call the in-between space. All of these little nuances, these spaces, over time, they really started shaping up in my head, and I'm like, I want to learn that. I want to learn about people and how they interact with spaces. And I would like to call it like architecture and life around it. That's my way of like understanding this entire subject, I think.
That's a really interesting answer. And architecture school, it trained you to see and think in very specific ways.
Yeah.
So what parts of that process do you think actually shaped you the most, and what parts do you think you've had to unlearn as well?
Architectural training it teaches you to question everything, like I mentioned before, to ask why. That was the first thing that we were taught in school. And I think that's the most beautiful thing, like to be curious like a kid again, to ask why, how we would annoy our parents about everything. Why is it like that? What happens then? How is it done? And we do that again now as adults. And we ask questions about why something exists. Why does it work the way it does? How does it work? And what does it consist of? All of these different questions that we keep asking, I think that really changed me as a person. Obviously, as a designer, yes. But I think as a person where I'm constantly questioning everything. And you stop looking at spaces and start reading them. It's not a visual anymore. You're not just like, oh, it's beautiful. There's more than that. How do I read a space? How can I tell, oh, it's this, it's doing this to a space. This is what this particular intervention has done this to me. And that slowly starts shaping up your experience. And what I want to unlearn is this obsession to be perfect, because I think it's a very subjective thing. What you think might be perfect may not be so perfect in my eyes. And what I think is perfect may not look as perfect to you. So I'm really learning to draw that line, and I really want to unlearn that, because it can go way beyond my limit to do that thing. So I want to learn how to draw those boundaries, and it's clear-cut boundaries. And I want to learn, like it's a typical practice in architectural studios, design studios in college, that spaces have to look really rendered. They have to have this clear-cut concept and everything. But I think what I want to know is how, because even if you intend for the user to use it the way you think they will use, but they won't use it like that. They will use it how they want it. It's on the user at the end of the day. So I want to learn how they will interact with that very space. So yeah, lots of doing and undoing. Lots of, yeah, it's
That's great.
yeah. Thank you.
And one last question for you. Do you think architecture school teaches you more about buildings or about yourself?
Buildings are just a medium. You do come out learning a lot of skills about, obviously, because that's your job, right?
Right.
You have to know how to design a building. You should know how to erect it. So that's a given, but I think it teaches you more about yourself. It really opens up your eyes. It makes you question everything, and it goes beyond just design. And I was so oblivious to the ground reality, probably because I'm really privileged, and I feel like my eyes have been shut my entire life, the first 18 years of my life. And the day I entered architecture school, all of that changed for me because I was interacting with communities on ground. So that changed a lot. And I've had a lot of wonderful people teaching me a lot of profound things. So yeah.
It's a very philosophical.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a very philosophical journey. So yeah, it's been great, and I think you'll never get bored if you take it up. So anyone should.
That's a beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Andrea, for sharing such thoughtful insights. We can't wait to see how your journey, both in practice and through your creative content, continues to shape conversations around architecture in India. And thank you for joining us on Coastal Talk.